So for those of you that don't know me, I am Denise Murphy-McGraw. I have the privilege of serving as the chairwoman of the Public Works Committee. I've done so for about 11 years now. And through that work, I know I've talked to a lot of you about this project over the years. I can remember very vividly the first time that Errol Lamani came to town board to talk to us about this. He talked about his children. His children are now men. I know I've had many other meetings with folks about this. It's gone on for a long time. I mean, some people are no longer even alive who have talked to us about this. Susan Savage in the county legislature was really the first champion of this project, and safety measures around the co-op, it was really a priority for her. When she left the county legislature, Joe Landry, our former supervisor, he really took the helm of this project and worked on it for years and is still working on it. And I know the same for many of you in the neighborhoods around the co-op feel the same way. You've been very involved in this project and you've tried to give input, and this is another opportunity for all of you to give some input. John Delarada chairs the Economic Development Committee, and he's going to try to call in. He was hung up doing something else, but he and I are co-chairing the two meetings of our two committees. We're having it jointly tonight, so we could really listen to all of you. If he was on the line, I know he would say the same thing that I'm going to say. We understand full well that your greatest asset is your home. You know, there's a lot of people on this call who have known me for years. You've heard me say it hundreds of times. And our number one job is to not only ensure the value of your home, but hopefully the things we do increase the value of your home. So it is with that spirit of cooperation and willingness to listen. I think we've all tried to work on this for years, and we will continue to try to do that tonight. Laura is going to try to moderate. The one thing that, you know, we really want to be is very respectful and appreciative of everyone who's on this call, including of your time. So we're going to try to move it along as quickly as we can, but we don't want anyone to feel as though they're being cut off in any way, but we want to be able to try to get to everyone. So Laura, I do want to just talk through just kind of, is everybody on the technology? Are you good? And then we can go around and people can introduce themselves, because I don't know who people can see. And if you can't see them at all and you've just called in, if you're even able to know. So Laura, do you want to just talk about that for a minute?
Laura, you're still muted.
Laura.
I'm talking away. Okay, sorry. Thank you, guys. So just to do a real quick, I just want to do a real quick roll call of the two committees for the minutes' sake, just to let everybody know we are recording and live streaming and taking minutes. So I obviously Councilwoman Denise Murphy-McGraw.
Here.
Michelle Martinelli.
Here.
Michelle? Okay, thanks.
Here.
Paul Briggs.
Here.
Councilwoman Rosemary Perez-Jaquith.
I'm here. Hi, everyone.
Councilman McPartlin.
I'm here. Hello, everyone.
Hi, Bill.
Supervisor Yasmin Syed.
I'm here, albeit for my black screen, but I do want to thank everybody who's joining us here tonight.
Matthew Yaddo.
I'm here.
Sorry, I have to let somebody in. Sorry about that. Okay.
Laura, when you introduce people, can you mention their titles? Because I'm not sure everybody knows that Matt Yaddo is the town engineer or Paul Briggs is the town attorney.
Yeah, Matt Yaddo, superintendent of water, sewer, and engineering. Josh Hawley, second super engineer of the town.
Here.
Super.
Do you guys know, is Kathy on the line? Kathy Persons? I didn't see her come. So
I don't think she's here.
Okay, that's okay. Clark Henry, assistant planner.
I'm here. Here.
And we have Dale Lingenfelter, Fire District 1.
Hello.
And Chief McManus of the Police Department.
Hello there.
I know for the Economic Development Committee, is Dennis Brennan on the line? I know he's going to try, but he has a historic meeting later on. I saw Dart. Dart, are you still here?
Yes, I am.
Okay. So oops. Sorry. Okay, so that is definitely a quorum. Meeting's called to order. I know there's a number of people on the call. And the first question I was asking for everyone is to make sure they stay muted. That's not because I don't want to hear what you want to say. We have 51 people on the call right now, and that's just going to help with feedback. But there's no problem with unmuting whenever you need to speak. If you're muted, and you may actually be coming into the meeting right now muted, you'll have a red circle that is over your microphone. If you are unmuted, it should be gray. So if anybody's having problems muting or unmuting, you can send me an email. I'll periodically check it to make sure that everybody is hopefully meeting the technological requirements, which is difficult. And I just wanted to echo. So I know that the Villa Del Mar residents have put together a coordinated presentation for their comments. So I'm going to turn it over to them and let them run through their comments out of the respect for the coordination. I do think that that's helpful. I know there will be some people on the line following that. And so after, they're done with their coordinated speaking of their opinions and questions, we'll ask if there's anyone on the line who would additionally like to speak. And I'll make sure that, that's asked multiple times and everyone gets a chance. But there will be, I think, a sort of a coordinated Villa Del Mar response. So I just wanted everybody to understand.
Okay.
And I know there will be some competing interest with the comments, which is normal and reasonable. So I'm just going to echo Ms. McGraw's sort of plea. We're all under a stressful situation right now, and patience might be a little shorter than normal. So if we can all just acknowledge that and really reach for kindness and respect, I think that would be great. I haven't actually seen anything recently, but I just feel like I just want to keep knowledge of that. And then I just also wanted to frame the expectations of this discussion. We have reached out to an engineer, and they are looking to us for, so we identified the need for potential improvements to Clifton Park, Crescent Ave, and Villa Del Mar in conjunction with the county's plan. And so we have a quote for options that will deter traffic from cutting through the residential neighborhoods on Villa Del Mar, Almeria Road, Clifton Park Road, and Crescent Road. And I just wanted to just share quickly the engineering analysis considers there's a lot in it, but it would be considerations for traffic deterrence or calming, included but not limited to changing Villa Del Mar to a no outlet roadway, preventing access to from not street, barriers, conversions to one-way vehicle traffic, installation of chicanes or other speed reduction features, and signage. So there's a lot of things that they can consider for Villa Del Mar. The town is also requesting alternatives to reorganize and consolidate the intersection of Clifton Park, Crescent Ave to provide additional parking in the vicinity of the intersection and make it a safer, clearer intersection. And then also the town has an 85-foot right-of-way along Crescent Ave. And so they're just going to look at the potential for angled parking or on-street parallel parking to relieve the need for some parking in that area. And there's ups and downs to all of these things. And I know everybody has opinions on them all. So I just wanted to share that those are some of the things we're looking for. The county plan is, we're looking at stuff adjacent to it. I mean, essentially, I know that there's lots of opinions for and against the county plan, but we're really not discussing the county plan. We're discussing what we can do adjacent to the county plan, if that makes sense.
Okay. Thank you, Laura.
Yes.
So, and I just want to make it clear to everyone that the town board has not voted on that yet. It is something that we had a discussion about putting out for the engineering plan, but we did not, the engineering study, but we have not had a formal discussion of all the things that were in that yet. So I don't want anybody to get nervous because we're looking at things, and Laura was just trying to be thorough. So I am going to, I just want to acknowledge that we have Paul Webster, our Metroplex representative, on this call as well. I think everyone who touches this in any way takes it very, very seriously. There are members of, our Safe Street. And we have a lot of folks on the town end and the municipal end on this. But I'm going to hand it over to Matt Bramble, who I also believe was with Errol Lamani on that at that meeting 6 years ago. He has been very involved in all of this. I don't need to tell anyone on this call right now, because he's been at your door to talk to you about it. So, Matt, I'm going to have you kind of walk us through who of the neighbors are on, and kind of walk us through some of your comments and presentation.
Certainly, and thank you.
Thank you.
There's a long list of neighbors. We had initially intended on having everyone introduce themselves, but in terms of the organized comment section of this, we just have 5 households that are going to give extended comments in the interest of time and organization, obviously. But I want to echo the comments before of Laura. Certainly if anyone wants to say something, they're encouraged to do so, as far as our neighborhood's concerned. So I do have a written statement basically to introduce everything, and then a list of 5 households that we'd like to hear from in order. If it's definitely necessary to do so, we could pause for a second after I speak and have and answer some questions if there's anything specific, but generally speaking, we'd like to wait until after those 5 families have also spoken. So I'm going to go ahead and read my statement now. I've been acting as the organizer for the residents of Villa Del Mar and Almeria Road in Niskayuna, totaling more than 30 households, representing almost everyone from our neighborhood. We are here today because the County of Schenectady released their final plan for the Knott Street project on April 24th that included a small change on paper, but a very notable change in the effect of the safety and quality of life to the residents in our neighborhood. We immediately sprung into action, reached out to representatives from both our county and town to express our grave concerns about this change, and also frustration over the fact that this happened at the county level without an opportunity for public comment during a time of a national emergency caused by a global pandemic, which not only limited our access to government, but also our neighborhoods. This was not an open and transparent process, and despite the engagement that we have managed to achieve, this has been exceedingly difficult for us. Whether or not this was by design is not necessarily an issue, but it was in fact the effect, and this is not how it should have happened. I want to speak specifically about the proposed barrier that was on Villa Del Mar and modification of the co-op parking lot to include an entrance and exit onto Villa Del Mar. And just to be clear, again, I think speaking for everyone in our neighborhood, we recognize the safety concerns on Knott Street. We are probably among the group that is most concerned about that because we are the most likely people to actually use that crosswalk and to travel through that area on foot. So as far as the proposed barrier that was on that plan, that is what disappeared from the plan 4 weeks ago. We've come to understand that there was never an actual solution to making our street into a dead end, and therefore protecting us from the increase in traffic going to and from the co-op parking lot, having the entrances also placed on Villa Del Mar. That is really the crux of the situation here, is that that barrier formerly protected our street. It's not practical, and they simply removed the barrier, which then exposes our entire street to that. So the reason why there's no actual solution to the barrier offered by the county is because the town lacks the space necessary to create a turnaround for emergency vehicles, which is a minimum of 96 feet according to New York State Fire Code. creating a gate for emergency access, while possibly practical for just the fire trucks, it's not practical for school buses, garbage trucks, UPS trucks, delivery trucks, vehicles with trailers, and all other longer vehicles. These vehicles would have to back up down the entire length of the street without access to such a barrier. We have asked repeatedly for information about a practical solution to dead-ending our street as part of the county's plan, and no one has offered us any. It's clear that this option is not actually on the table. It was never, in fact, anything more than a line drawn on a piece of paper, and despite the obvious deficiencies in this design, without that barrier, no attempts were made by the county to resolve this issue prior to their vote last week. Without that barrier present, the entrance and exit for the co-op parking lot placed on Via Del Mar would surely create extra traffic for our street. Our street is not designed to handle commercial or otherwise excessive through traffic. Our street is narrow, we have no lights, there's no sidewalks, there's often cars parked on both sides of the road, and most importantly, there are 36 school-aged children on our one block alone of Via Del Mar, with more than half of those children being below the age of 10. Even a small increase in traffic to our street would notably impact the safety and quality of life of our residents. We understand that Via Del Mar is a town road, not under the jurisdiction of the county. We also understand that the co-op's parking lot is on residentially zoned land, and despite past variances granted by the town, any modification to that lot involving Via Del Mar is also under the town's jurisdiction. And as residents of streets directly impacted by the proposed changes, we also believe that we have a right to be involved in any changes that would in any way affect the flow of traffic onto Via Del Mar and El Maria Road. I also want to make clear that the residents of these streets are regularly faced with plans by outside interests that can affect the integrity of our neighborhood. We live in a long-established residential community, and both Knott Street and Balltown roads are at or beyond their capacity to handle traffic as is. Niskayuna is primarily a residential town with significant space set aside in appropriate areas for commercial interests without the need to impact areas where residents lived. We have presented the town with a petition in relation to these matters. We are seeking the support of the town in protecting the safety and the quality of life on our streets. And we are specifically asking the town to do the following three things. We would like the town's support of the residents of Via Del Mar and El Maria Road in resisting the regular and continuing attempts to expand commercialization and associated traffic onto our residential streets. We would also like the town to oppose any design that seeks to place an entrance or an exit of the co-op parking lot onto Via Del Mar. And that really is a critical point. We're seeking to not have any ingress or egress of that parking lot onto our residential street. And then lastly, we're seeking the town's support in opposition to any potential change on Knott Street that would result in an increase in traffic through Via Del Mar and El Maria Road. We're not aware of what other designs might be on the table, but certainly there's a concern of anything that could increase the traffic through our street. So we have those 5 households that we'd like to spend a little bit of time talking. If questions could wait till after, that would be great. But if you do have a question, I'll pause for a second and just give an opportunity.
Okay. Matt, why don't we proceed? And I just want to let everyone know that we are joined by Councilman Delarada. He was having issues getting on, but he is with us now. So Matt, why don't you proceed as best you think you can? And if we have to pause or break or people have questions, no one around here is shy. Absolutely. And I'd be happy to answer questions and also
the residents of our street also could speak up if they want to. But we have 5 families, and I'm going to call on them after in order after each one of them's finished talking. And the first ones are Stephen and Daniela Sina from 1420 Via Del Mar. If you could go ahead.
Thank you, Matt. My name is Steve Sina. I'm here with my wife, Daniela Sina. Thank you so much, Denise, and all the esteemed leaders of our great community for embracing this great dialogue, right? The fact that we can have open dialogue is honestly what makes our neighborhood so great. So we really appreciate that. When Matt said that we were one of 5 families chosen, my thoughts immediately went to The Godfather Part 3, where 5 families were assembled, and we all know how that didn't end well. So I'm hoping we don't go that way. But again, thank you so much. My wife and I and our 2 daughters moved to Villa Del Mar, I guess summer of 2018. We relocated from Nassau County, Long Island, and I'm trying to lose the Long Island accent as time goes by. One of the reasons we were excited to move was we lived in a really nice neighborhood. However, we lived in a pass-through block. And what that meant was that we were a regularly trafficked block for north and south traffic in our neighborhood, which is in East Meadow, Long Island. And we had a sidewalk, and to be honest, we never ventured off the sidewalk because people drove pretty fast, and it really did not create a safe environment for our kids as we grew up. We were very fascinated about the capital region, and we've been wanting to move up here for almost 9 years. And our hearts set on Niskayuna because we love the schools, and quite honestly, we love the community environment that we experienced every time we come up here. And I can't forget the first time we pulled off Balltown Road onto Almeria, and it felt like we entered into a safety zone, an abyss, a place of peace, tranquility, and community. We saw people outside. We saw people walking in the street. We didn't see much traffic. And I remember us parking our car and walking up and down the block, and this feeling of home resonated because we felt safe, we felt secure, and that was what we wanted for our family. And when we came here, what attracted us was we loved the fact that we could just walk up the block to Co-op. We loved the fact that, you know, we could stand in our streets and talk to neighbors and know that we were in a safe environment versus what we came from when we relocated from Long Island. We loved seeing elderly couples walking up and down our block. We knew that our youngest daughter, my oldest daughter is kind of lazy, but my youngest daughter loved to play in the street, and we felt completely fine knowing that she was safe because there wasn't much traffic. And if there was any traffic, it was usually somebody on our block driving relatively slow. And what concerned us was obviously safety is king, right? And if I think back, if my child's life was to be put in jeopardy, and understanding the loss that was experienced quite a few years ago, we want nothing but the best for our neighborhood, for our community, but not at the cost of putting the rest of the community at risk. So when we heard about the plans and that brought this to our attention and we started talking about it, the biggest concern for us was that, thinking back to where we came from, adding any exit or entry into the block just creates the possibility for additional throughway traffic, which we know was not a safe environment for our kids, for our family, and for the families that are here. Now, you know, we have older children, but they're children nonetheless. Our block is full of little kids. And I love when I see them playing, and to me, that's the part of the integrity of the block of Villa Del Mar and part of the integrity of the neighborhood that is Old Niskayuna that makes it special and makes it what it is that we all love. One of the things that my wife and I really want to make sure that everything that we do going forward, and this dialogue is great, is that it's focused on maintaining the integrity, not just of Villa Del Mar, but of the entire community, which is known to be safe, secure, and a place where we know that tomorrow and the next day, we're still going to be a safe environment. So I don't know if my wife, Danielle, you have anything to add? Thank you so much for this time, and I really appreciate the dialogue. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve and Danielle. I'm from Merrick, and I'm still trying to change my accent 30 years later, so let's see how you make out. But thank you. That was great. Thank you very much. Matt, I don't know
Yep.
who's next. So
We have Michelle and Dave. I'm going to mess up your last name probably because I only know people by first names, but Mercier?
Mercier.
Mercier, sorry. Go ahead.
So I am Michelle Lansing Mercier, and this is my husband, Dave. I moved to Niskayuna 20 years ago. I was looking for my first home, and I was dead set on living in Del Mar. And I actually was talked into looking at Niskayuna, which seemed on the other side of the planet at the time, because Niskayuna was such a wonderful place to live and had such great schools. Well, at the time, I didn't have any kids and I wasn't even thinking about kids, so that didn't matter. But I humored her and I drove, a half an hour away from where I thought I wanted to live and took a look at Niskayuna. I turned onto my street and saw those tree-lined pathway, and I said, this is it. And I couldn't even believe how quickly I changed my mind about where I was going to live and buy my first home. As Dave and I met and got married, we had talked about moving somewhere else for a bigger home. This is a small home, and we actually put a deposit down on other homes. And every time we thought we were going to leave, I started to cry and said, I can't leave. And the reason why I chose to live here, the reason why I still live here, the reason why, even though we now have a son, is because this is home. This is a community. This is a neighborhood. Anybody who lives in Old Niskayuna, it's a feeling that you have. You can walk down any one of the streets and you don't feel like you're intruding. You feel like it's still part of your own street, your own neighborhood. It is a community. And, as we look at improving Knott Street and the safety of it, which is good for all Niskayuna, I don't disagree with that. But I think this is an opportunity that instead of breaking down Old Niskayuna, which is what it would be if we start to let traffic, pour down our street, or think of Via Del Mar as a pathway to the co-op, let's celebrate the community. Let's celebrate the residents, because we're the ones that are going to be here to stay. And I think this is a great opportunity to bring out Old Niskayuna and to protect it and to call it out for what it is, which is one of the finest moments of Niskayuna. And, I know some people prefer to live in other places in Niskayuna, and that's great. That's one of the things that's wonderful about Niskayuna. You want to live in a place with land, we have it. You want to live, in a townhouse, we've got them. But if you want to live in a really small, safe, friendly, walkable community where it's okay that your neighbor's house is 5 feet away because you like them, then that's Old Niskayuna. And it is special. It's as special as any other type of neighborhood in Niskayuna. And I'm just asking that as we go through this process, please respect us. Just know that we're looking to you to protect and respect this community, because it is a gem. And I hope all of us at the end of this process feel positive about this, because we're not just going to make Knott Street safer, we're going to make Old Niskayuna an even better, more desirable place to live than it already is. And I think one of the reasons that we love living here is because it feels small and familiar. We don't want commercialism. If I wanted to live in Colony or wanted to live in Latham, that's where I would have chose to live. And the fact that we can continue to respect what this is, that it is about the neighborhood, that it is about the community. It's not about from 10 miles away to shop at the co-op. It's about supporting who we are as a community. And I'm really looking forward to having more of these dialogues. I have to say to each of you who took the time to do this, especially for us today, thank you. It is greatly appreciated. Go Niskayuna. Yay, Old Niskayuna. I appreciate the time.
thank you very much. That was great. Dave, you have anything? Okay. All right, Matt, where are we going next?
Next up are two of our most recent residents, not the most recent, but within a month, we'll have our very most recent resident coming on board. It's Michelle and Brian Hunter of 1452 Via Del Mar.
Hi, everybody. My name is Michelle Hunter, as Matt just said. My husband, unfortunately, is on a work call right now, so he's out on the deck taking that. Hopefully he'll join us in a few minutes. But I appreciate, obviously, taking the time and hearing what we all have to say, because obviously, as you are probably aware, this is extra important, especially in times of right now. I just wanted to speak to just for really the reason, like everyone else has said, why we chose to live here. So I actually worked down the street at Sunnyview Rehab Hospital. Before we moved here and bought our first home together and got married, we had been residing in Latham. Great area, very obviously close to here, but not at all the same feel. And every day when I would drive down Knott Street, I would look down the side roads, I would pass the co-op, and it just gave me that wholesome feel, just like Michelle and Dave were talking about, and everybody else. The tree lines, the tranquility of having the ability to walk down the street, but yet not feel like you were living in a city. I think just really gave us the wholesome feel that as soon as we moved in here made us feel like we were home. I think keeping, as Michelle was speaking to, keeping the community feel like our community. When I say I live in Old Niskayuna to others around the area, they know what that means. I don't have to explain, Old Niskayuna are these cross streets. They know exactly what area I'm talking about when I say it. Brian is from Clifton Park, where again, obviously it's a very different lifestyle, 10 minutes up the road. But I think ultimately when we're talking about the plans here that are in position for right now, or our options on the table, I think we look at this as potentially or hopefully staying our home. So since we do have a child that is going to be due in about 2 weeks, so hopefully that'll everything will go smoothly with that. We hope to really make sure that we can continue to stay here and raise our kids here. When we first moved in, which was about 3.5 years ago, almost 4 years ago now, even the roads since then have changed. We've had a lot more cut through traffic that we've noticed even since that time. So I think, bringing a entrance onto our street and asking for more trouble is just making things worse. So I think from our behalf and, our future child and, the start of the next generation, I think we would really appreciate the support from our town and even county to continue keeping our streets safe and letting us stay here to promote the safety and let our kids run in the streets just like kids in the past have. So I appreciate you guys listening in and feel free to ask any questions if you have any.
Terrific. Thank you very much. I think when I could speak for a number of other women on this call, if it was 2 weeks before my due date, I might have been doing a few other things. So thank you very much. We really appreciate your time and your effort.
Thank you.
Matt, where are we going next?
Well, first off, for transparency, I just want to let you know in the 36 children number, we are counting the new Hunter on the street. Okay. So just for transparency there. Next up is Ann Thornton and Nick Spagnoli from 1401 Via Del Mar.
Great.
Thanks, Matt. I'm not muted. Okay. So I'm Ann Thornton. My husband, Nick Spagnoli, is on the floor. I'm not sure if you can see him. This is our son, Samuel, on the floor as well. Sam, they're playing Legos. So we're just trying to keep him occupied during this. And I just want to, I'm going to just reiterate so much of what my neighbors have just said. And it actually gives me such a feeling of, it's almost like a storybook to me in the sense that these neighbors are saying exactly what I have felt for so long. And it's just a silver lining to going through this process together, as I see my neighbors are just wonderful people that I'm glad to have on my street, because we just moved in 2018 summer as well. And, between the two of us, we've lived in, several major American cities. We've lived, Washington, New York, DC, LA, Philadelphia, Boston. We've been around. And then we had our son. And when we came to look, the first weekend that we came to look at real estate up here, I grew up up here. We found this house the first day. It was Mother's Day of 2018. And it felt like the universe had just come together, because I landed in that spot that I dreamed of for so long. So I'm just going to read a little bit, basically going to reiterate so much of what my neighbors have said. But, really, this neighborhood speaks to us, to our souls. I mean, It's the pre-World War II development pattern that is made for humans over cars. It's the old and beautiful trees, which they've talked about. It's the fact that we see everyone biking and walking. It's the affordability, which creates a vibe that we wanted. It creates a different kind of community. It's the kindness of the people who live here and the way family and community are so highly valued. And, most definitely it was that we could walk to the co-op. I mean, we saw that, and that was like the jackpot to this whole thing. And, since moving here, we followed the planning process, and we've been supported and very happy about it. We were truly confident that this could only be good for us, for Knott Street, for the neighborhood, for the community, for all of Niskayuna. And so it was all good. It was just that we were thrown for that loop a few weeks ago when the county presented the final design, which showed the primary access to the co-op now being placed on our street. A plan which we see as to be fundamentally diverting the commercial traffic away from the improvements being made on Knott and onto our street in Elmeria Road. And, just as we see it from a common sense standpoint, making a residential road that has long been successful at conveying pedestrians and bicycle riders to the co-op into a commercial access road that prioritizes cars is a mistake and a serious safety hazard. As people have said, especially because we have no streetlights, we have no sidewalks, it's pitch dark in Old Niskayuna, when it's night, and that's at 5 o'clock in the winter. So that we are, all of us are on the same page, and I think that for a while we also were experiencing real sadness and some anger because after this long planning process, which we followed, we felt that what was presented to us was one that we'd had no opportunity to comment on the particular design, even though we're the ones that would be most deeply impacted by it. And when we reached out, initially, sort of the hands-off kind of, this is a county, that's the county plan, the town will have a separate process. It really worried us about the future of our street, that we didn't feel there was anywhere to go. Like, well, we need to deal with this now. But where we are today is we are very grateful. Well, certainly grateful for all the time everyone on this call is taking to listen to us, and grateful that the county appears to be working to come up with a solution that would resolve some of our fears. But we also remain quite anxious because of the way the planning process went down initially, and we're afraid, we're afraid that any solution that's presented could change again at the last minute. That's just the emotional reality of where we're at. So what we're asking for is our town to advocate for us to protect this beautiful street and this beautiful community, all the people who live and walk on this street, and all the children who live on it and play on it and want to grow up safely here. And that's basically it.
Thank you very much. I think it speaks volumes to how much all of us care so much when someone gets choked up when they're talking about finding their home and how much their neighborhood means to them. And I think that's sums up how a lot of us feel. So thank you so much. All right, Matt, where are we going?
The last family that's going to talk here is Dan and Kelly Vandepoot, if I said that at all correctly.
Close enough. Vandepoot, but yeah, so we're Dan and Kelly Vandepoot. We're at 1432, so we're kind of right in the middle of the road. It's kind of fun. I've lived here 17 years, and my story is probably a little bit different in how I wound up in this neighborhood. I wound up here after living in New York for 4 years. I'm an engineer over at Knowles, and I was told buying a home is good financial decision. So I felt like I was pressured. I need to buy a home. So I bought a home, and I absolutely hated it. I did not like owning a home. But then I got married, and Kelly moved in with me, and it actually started to feel like a home. And then after a few years, we had our first son, Zechariah, about 6.5 years ago, and obviously we've added a couple more, and the appreciation for what this street is grew more and more, because as our neighbors can tell you, we're outside playing all the time. As they can tell you, we're retrieving balls from their yards all the time. we're out there playing street hockey, tennis. Zechariah learned to ride a bike without training wheels last year. And then even today, I was mowing the lawn and I see neighbors with their kids riding bikes. So, as Matt has said, there's over 30 kids on the street, and, we're out on the street all the time. Not just us, but other kids too. So safety is really important. And, I know personally, I've noticed a lot of times you can tell when cars go through, when they're residents and not residents, a lot of times by how fast they're going.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of times non-residents, they're going pretty fast. And so that's a big concern. If any kind of improvement to Knott Street increases through traffic here, that's a real concern when we have over 30 kids, many of them being very young. That means we have to watch them that more carefully, or just stop playing in the street and find something else. I lost train of my thought.
Well, I mean, Zach learned how to ride his bike on the street, and I want my youngest, who's asleep, on my husband, to be able to have that same opportunity. And you often see it's not just people on our street that will be affected by it. Our street, you see people who are walking from different neighborhoods around that are walked to the co-op. You see people,
with their co-op
bags, and they're walking through. So when you're having fast cars or a lot more traffic, it's not going to just affect our street. It's going to affect the other people, pedestrians, and what safety measures are in place for that.
And we certainly appreciate the effort being put into Knott Street. We've crossed Knott Street many times, pre-kids, post-kids. I don't know if you remember TCBY, but
Yeah.
Joshua's, our middle child's first ice cream was at TCBY, and we walked there. And of course, crossing the Knott Street intersections is, the worst part of it. So we certainly very much appreciate the effort that's being put in there. What I think all of us also, don't want to see is any potential safety issues put on, then shift it to Via Del Mar and Almeria and some of these side streets, because then now we're affecting a lot of children, and that's a big concern to us.
Thank you very much. Kelly, you made it at home. I like hearing that.
A messy one, but it's our home.
Lots of Legos everywhere.
Thank you. All right, Matt.
That's actually it. And I hate to talk after everybody else did, as a matter of fact. So I'm just going to hand the floor back to you.
Terrific. Thank you very much, everyone. I really appreciate this. And I appreciate all the kids who are putting up with this right now. So we'll try to move it along as quickly as we possibly can. Laura, I don't know if I know that a few of the folks on the line have submitted written remarks. I don't know if anybody else has told you they would like to speak. So Laura, if maybe you can take it from here.
Yeah, I did receive some comments from people in the vicinity, who have concerns about the cul-de-sacing on Via Del Mar, which I forwarded on to the town board and this committee. It's not a privilege of the floor thing, so they're not being read into the record, but I believe that Bill Chapman wants to speak. And then after Bill speaks, I'll just open it up to anybody. I know, Matt, wow, that was like the nicest public comment I've ever heard, ever.
It was beautiful. It was absolutely.
But, I'm guessing the majority of the people on the line are people that are being represented by the 5 people that just spoke, which also
great.
very
Well, let's let Bill Chapman speak, and then I see kids and people need to eat dinner, and so we'll take it from there. So, Bill.
Hello, I'm here. I don't know if you can hear me and see me or not.
We can both.
Okay, good. I'm at 1465 Clifton Park Road, and I've lived here for 34 years. And served a couple terms on the town board and also on the Metroplex Development Authority. And I asked them some time ago if they'd be willing to help us with some financial funding to do some of the safety features on the Knott Street block. And it's kind of a funny story that I was standing in front of the liquor store with Jamie LaHutte, who's one of the executives of the Metroplex, and we watched the fender bender happen right in front of our very eyes as we were standing there. And but they've helped with the matching part to help get the federal money to do this project. And there are a number of safety features in this that the sidewalks on both sides of Knott Street are going to be great, help pedestrians get access to the co-op block safely. Having the push button crosswalks are going to be a big help too. Lots of residents will tell you that it's tough when you are trying to get across Knott Street. Sometimes you have to look back and forth several times to make sure it's safe to go across. So I think the crosswalks are going to help. I think the islands, the curved islands in front of the co-op grocery and at Lang's are going to narrow down some of the areas where pedestrians want to walk across, particularly where you're going from Knott Street across Clifton Park Road next to Lang's. That's a kind of a wide open intersection, and having that tightened up will be good. And even the dip in the road, as it's going to curve to the south a bit and then back up, will serve as a traffic calming device. I guess I do want to say, knowing my neighbors on Clifton Park Road, lots of very nice folks, and really we have the same feelings about our street as all of our wonderful neighbors on Via Del Mar, about how we trust our neighbors. We like socializing with them. We have a block party every summer, and we have a Christmas holiday party where we all get together, and you've got your neighbors to look out for you. I was a young person with young kids and helped out older folks, and now I'm moving into that category where my neighbor has a new snow blower and wants to blow the snow off my driveway. Well, I don't object to that too much. I guess one of the things that I wanted to say is the notion of a block or a cul-de-sac on Via Del Mar is sort of asking the question, well, if you don't have pass-through traffic on your street, where are those cars going to go? And certainly some of them will be on Balltown Road, where it's a state highway. It's a good road for them to be on. But some of that pass-through traffic is going to move over, will be on Clifton Park Road. We do have some busy traffic here, and we do have lots of kids and lots of older adults on our street as well too. And there are drivers that cut through Clifton Park Road to get to the high school, and so we have cars on our road as well. And I guess one of the things, looking at the co-op parking lot, I know the one that's on the south side of Knott Street, that probably 7 or 8 or 7 to 10 of those cars in there are employees that work at the co-op parking lot. And maybe there's another at any given time, 5 to 10 cars that are shoppers in the co-op. And I know that the county has, safety is an important concern, and they have decided to move the entrance exit of the co-op over to from Knott Street to Via Del Mar, which kind of creates the concern about traffic going back and forth. And I guess part of me is, well, what are the real numbers in terms of how many cars are going to go up and down on Via Del Mar, and whether it would make sense to consider looking at the traffic once the county has completed their work to see what is the bump in traffic on Via Del Mar, with the understanding that, gee, if you close off Via Del Mar, those cars are going other places, and many of those cars are going to come over to Clifton Park Road. And, you know, we have a lot of cars on Clifton Park Road already. So that's kind of a concern, I think, that folks have. And I guess I would just say sometimes where you have lots of concerns like the business community and pedestrians and, you know, concerns about traffic, that our town boards, our planning boards, our county legislators are often called on to, you know, make some hard decisions where they have to weigh the interests of everyone in the neighborhood. And so I don't have an answer other than to say that I think before the town board considers, you know, closing off Via Del Mar, that they might want to have an engineering study done to get some real counts, so that if we make decisions, we're making it on the basis of actual traffic counts. And it's the decision that will be faced by our town board. And I do want to say, having, kind of been involved with this a bit, that I am very impressed with the hard work our town board members have done, which they're doing now. Certainly our county legislators, Michelle Osterlich, Sarah Mae Pratt, Tom Constantine, and other folks before them, and to the engineering staff for the county engineering. I know they've worked hard on this too. And so I think we have lots of people that have worked hard, lots of people of goodwill, and hopefully we can work together for something that's going to work for everyone in the neighborhood.
Great, Bill. Thank you very much. I think you said it very well. There's a lot of people of goodwill involved all the way around in this, and you are certainly one of them. So thank you. All right, Laura, where do we want to go next?
Oh, John has a comment he wants to make. Go ahead, John.
Just briefly, Bill, I appreciate your comments, and of course, your public service over the last 20 years is exemplary, especially with the county and the town. But if you look at the way the traffic is flowing, do you really think there would be an increase of traffic on Clifton Park Road with the closure of Via Del Mar? Because it's south of the co-op, right? So the people that are coming from that direction aren't going to go down Clifton Park Road, I don't believe. But I guess they might, if they're coming from Knott Street?
Well, I certainly think folks that would come down Via Del Mar to use the co-op parking lot, certainly folks that might not want to struggle with Knott Street, especially at rush hour. There would be some folks that I think would like to be able to drive down, turn sideways into the parking lot on the south side of Knott Street, park their car, walk across a push-button co-op, crosswalk, do their shopping, come back, and go the other way. But if the road's closed off, then obviously folks on Via Del Mar that have to get out would have to come to the south end of the street and turn and go out to Almeria to Balltown, or make a right on Almeria and come around. And if they're going west on Knott Street, either to come down Clifton Park Road or to go to Valencia or all the way down to Dean or whatever to get out. So if there's only local traffic on Via Del Mar, then those cars are going to have to go out someplace. And I think, folks in Old Niskuna that, might be on Via Del Mar to use that lot will be coming along Almeria or Barcelona, and will be coming up maybe Valencia or even Clifton Park Road to get access to the co-op. And so we would get, some more of those cars. And as I mentioned, we do have, we're kind of a cut through to the high school for people that don't want to be on Balltown Road. And so, and I don't know what the counts of cars are on Via Del Mar or Clifton Park Road, but, if Via Del Mar has 500 trips a day now, we probably have 1,000. And so I guess I just would like, I think it's important to think about balancing the traffic in the neighborhood. And, if the town board decides to do a cul-de-sac or something, and, we're not going to sell our homes and move, we'd have to live with it. But, we have lots of nice families here that have young children and older adults and pedestrians that will be walking down Clifton Park Road to use the sidewalk on the south side of the street. And so we'd be kind of looking to, there are ways to balance the traffic so one street doesn't take a hit and one gets spared. So that's just.
Well, thank you, Bill. There's obviously a lot of unanswered questions, and you just raised a lot of them. I'm also hearing a lot of people pop off, so I want to make sure that we're getting to everyone. John, do you have other questions?
No, and I appreciate your comments, Bill. I think you clarified the other side of the complex very well. I don't know if that's the south side or north side. I'm a little bit confused. But I think that was a very good clarification, and that's kind of the balancing act that we're dealing with right now. But thank you.
Bigger than him. Look at it. Get it. Thank you, John. Thank you very much, Bill. As always. Laura, where are we going next?
So I think that's everyone that I had heard from on the line, but we had let this link be open to the public. So I just want to ask, is there anybody on the line that wishes to speak that, that didn't reach out? Because you're welcome to.
I would like to say a couple of things, just in regards to where we've been to date. When this first happened, the first meeting that Errol Lamani and I were involved with was a highway committee in the town of Niskayuna. And I just want to make it known to these two committees that we did object at that time to hiring the same engineer in relation to Via Del Mar. We didn't necessarily object to hiring that engineer overall, but because of the obvious deficiencies involved in the plan that they pushed forward, we felt that it was very important to have a second opinion from yet another engineering firm when it comes to the design of Via Del Mar. We don't know, also, I just want to make clear, we don't know necessarily that it was the engineer who made that change, who never had a solution to the problem, if it was someone in the county of Schenectady, if it was a simple oversight. We're not making, any sort of claim in that regard. But we would feel much more comfortable if a different engineering firm was involved in our street. And just to make one quick statement regarding traffic, our street gets almost no pass-through traffic, as is outside of rush hours where Knott Street gets backed up and then people are in a hurry to go south on Balltown, will actually cut through our neighborhood. Otherwise, you can literally stand in the street for 30 minutes and not see a single car go through our neighborhood that doesn't live in our immediate neighborhood. So we have almost no pass-through traffic except for when Knott Street itself is busy. So this small change of putting the parking lot entrance and exit on our street would actually be a significant change for Via Del Mar in terms of the amount of traffic that we experience. It would not be a significant change. In fact, that's the status quo on Knott Street, to handle that traffic as is. And it's a much, much more appropriate road for that sort of traffic. The crosswalk will be marked better than it was, and the people who are on Knott Street understand that it's a different sort of street. So we would like to ask the board to consider hiring a different engineer, not necessarily overall, but just specifically to look at what could be done or what they're recommending should be done on Via Del Mar. And that's all that I have to say, except this has been a wonderful experience. I almost, after the second one of these teleconferences, think that this is the way all meetings are done. It is, I think it gives residents of Niskayuna a much more comfortable environment for sharing what they think, and I believe that everyone's handled themselves remarkably well, and the level of communication that we have here is just incredible. And I appreciate all my neighbors, obviously. I appreciate the people over on Clifton Park Road. You have a beautiful street there, Bill. Our street is better, just to make sure. And I appreciate every member of our town board and the committees for doing this very much. So thank you.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you very much. Sarah, do you have something to say? I saw you posted.
Hi, I'm actually Rachel Mandel. Sarah's my wife.
Oh,
We're
I'm
using her
sorry.
account.
I'm so sorry.
That's okay. It's under her name, so that's no problem.
Oh,
I certainly don't want to beat a dead horse, but I am very appreciative of Matt looping us into this discussion. I am not a Via Del Mar neighbor. I actually live in Almeria, kitty corner to Via Del Mar.
Sure.
So I kind of get the best of both worlds. I get the crazy drive-through traffic at Almeria and the quiet Via Del Mar street where we can go to the co-op and do our daily rides. I'm actually born and raised in Niskuna and lived here my entire life, and have always planned on raising a family and living here and spending my days here. So now that I have a 3-year-old, I'm kind of getting to see that come to fruition, and that's fantastic. And both Bill and Matt bring up very good points about Via Del Mar and the through traffic. And I want to point out that both of them end up with traffic on Almeria. It is a incredibly crazy street where there people are flying down it. Not to mention during rush hour when they're trying to beat the not street light.
Yeah.
It's always a cut through. And either way, I think that our biggest goal should be avoiding any entrance and exit to the co-op to Knott Street on a side road, and focus the main traffic, stick with Balltown, stick with Knott Street, and stick with the main roads and avoid the side roads. Going to the high school, Bill, and living here, I'm pretty sure that I was one of those kids flying up and down that road, and now I see it firsthand, and it's pretty distracting and it's pretty terrifying sometimes. Even my 3-year-old points out that people are going very fast. So I think we all can agree in that, and I'm appreciative that this has come to at this point where we can discuss it as a group. But I vote for, and I second obviously Matt and his attempts to keep Via Del Mar safe and keep our neighborhood the picturesque town that we've come to love. So that's all I have to say about that.
Thank you very much, Rachel.
Thank you.
I will never forget your name, Rachel, I promise. Thank you. Laura.
So Rosemary, I know, has mentioned that she wants to speak. Rosemary, do you want to go, and then we'll ask if there's more people on the line from the public?
Yep, and then we'll...
Thanks so much, Laura. So I just wanted to introduce myself to folks. I know I've met a number of you folks on Via Del Mar, but not everybody. I've spoken with Matt, I've spoken with Errol and Anne. And I really felt what you were saying. I live on Keys Avenue, so I'm an old Niskuna person, and I know exactly the feel and the emotion that comes with living here. It's a great place to live, and we're committed to continuing to keep it a great place to live. I've mentioned this to both Matt and Errol. I've been in regular communication with the county legislators, County Legislator Osterlid, County Legislator Tom Constantine, and County Legislator Sarah Mae Pratt, who are Niskuna people. They're our neighbors. They understand the concerns and the emotions about living here. That's why they live here too. And they are committed to working with us for the long haul and figuring this out. And I know some of you, been communicating with them as well. I just want to reiterate that they're not going anywhere. They want to work with us, and they want to work to figure this out for their neighbors as well. So with that, I will hand it over. Thanks.
Great, thank you. County Legislator Michelle Osterlich, would you like to say a few words? Michelle?
Hi, thank you, Denise. Thank you so much. So I thank you, Rosemary, for those words, because I'm excited about this project. We've had a really good experience. Everybody's been very, very supportive, which has been wonderful. The residents, many of the store owners are, they're nervous. They're very nervous, but everyone recognizes the need. Safety is a priority, and the need to make this corridor safer. So I really appreciate Matthew for getting the residents together. It makes it easier for communications, which is wonderful. I appreciate that. And we are really grateful, honestly, to have had conversations with residents and store owners all along. It's been very helpful to make sure that everyone's concerns are addressed. And although safety is always the priority, the first priority, there's many other aspects to this project that we have taken into consideration and worked hard to solve. And to that end, we have been working pretty closely with Councilwoman Jakewith and with the support of the supervisor to make sure that we are looking at this parking lot. The leadership over at the co-op has been very positive in our conversations, and we continue to look for solutions, and we're grateful to a couple of the residents who came forth with ideas, to Councilwoman Jakewith who came forward with an idea, and we're working those through the engineers to make sure when we meet again to talk about the safety and the various different pieces of this puzzle to make sure that the project is as best as it can be and meet the needs of the residents. And I have to say, I think we all really love living in Niskayuna. We all appreciate the safety. We all appreciate the neighborhood feel. And going on Via Del Mar, Clifton Park Road, it's a special place, no doubt. So thank you for everyone who spoke today.
Thank you, Michelle. Supervisor Syed.
Thank you so much, Councilwoman McGraw. Thank you to everybody who joined us here this evening. I hope that you can hear me okay.
Yes.
And I do, want to give a big thanks to Schenectady County, to our legislators, Tom Constantine, Sarah Mae Pratt, and Michelle Osterlich, in addition to Councilwoman Jakewith, who has done an excellent job of keeping those lines of communication open between the town and the county, and to our residents who live on Via Del Mar, who live on Almeria, and also who live on Clifton Park and Crescent, to the business owners in the area. Thank you so much for all the outreach that you've done. I know as well as any how challenging it can be to petition together, do that outreach, knock on the doors, and organize everyone. So to Matthew Bramble, to all of the other individuals who have contributed to letting us know what their opinions are, I thank you so much. We can only know how you're feeling if you let us know how you're feeling. So, I urge you to continue to reach out as much as you can to both the town level and the county level as well. And, one of the very touching stories that I loved so much was, the tale of growing up in Niskayuna, moving away, coming back. I can identify with that story very well, having been born and raised in Niskayuna, going to Boston, going to New York City, and always feeling that draw of coming back. So, I love that everyone loves our community so much as I do. And I hope we're right there with you. We care about how you feel. We care about this community. Your safety is of the utmost importance to us. So we will do everything in our power to make sure that we address all of your concerns. And again, I want to thank you all for joining us here tonight.
Thank you, Supervisor. Steve McCutcheon, would you like to speak? And then I'm going to ask Councilman McPartlin to close us out. Steve McCutcheon?
Yes, thank you, Councilwoman. Yes, I would just like to echo sort of Bill's concern, along with some of the other neighbors on my street here in Clifton Park Road, that with the implementation of the potential of a cul-de-sac on Via Del Mar, that our street, which is already a very busy street on most mornings and most evenings, that it would just have more traffic on this street. So I would just sort of like to let it known that, we do see the concerns from, our neighbors on Via Del Mar, but we also have, our own particular concerns that the traffic would potentially increase even more from what we already experienced. So I just like to also say thank you for everyone that's been working hard on this project for many years. It's been a pleasure hearing from everyone and all their concerns. And thank you for letting me voice my concerns and the similar concerns of my neighbors.
Thank you very much, Steve. You've always been a tremendous advocate for your neighborhood and your street. So thank you very much for participating tonight.
Thank you.
Bill McPartlin has sent me a note saying he is at 1% battery. So we may or may not have Bill McPartlin right now. Bill?
Thank you, Denise. I just want to thank everyone for coming to the meeting this evening. This is our government democracy at work at its best. And please know that I want to thank all the people in government with myself working hard to try to get a solution to this. And thank you all for your time and reaching out to us and making us aware of what you would like to see. So I'm going to keep it very short. Again, thank you all for the.
Thank you, Bill. And there he goes. I am going to ask our dear friend and our great champion of this community, Paul Webster, our Metroplex board member, representative from the town of Niskayuna. Paul, do you have something to say? Paul. Okay.
So you might be muted. Denise, I know it's kind of confusing because it's more of a discussion item, but I did want to speak to the fact that we do have a proposed resolution on for Tuesday. And so if you don't mind, I'm going to share my screen really quickly. So I spoke to Matthew a little bit about MJ Engineering, and the quote that we did get is from MJ Engineering, and obviously it is potentially before the town board, but that doesn't mean that, you know, anything can't be changed. But I wanted to summarize quickly. So, I mean, I heard over and over that we want a safe environment, don't want to lose neighborhood community safety, protect and respect the neighborhoods, keep the community feel, little fear of the process. The neighbors want input and advocation for, I just made that word up, for everyone. And then the concerns that we always hear, don't like speeding, no additional cars. And then, you know, the other side of, if what we do to VL Del Mar, like what are the impacts to Clifton Park and of course Almeria. So I hope everybody can see this. This is my screen. I mean, this is a quote that we have from MJ. I read a little bit from it. This is what is proposed for the town board on Tuesday. I know we haven't had a long chance to discuss it, but it does seem like it would be good to just follow up with it today. We're looking at it holistically. So people on Clifton Park can see, like, we're taking a look at that, you know, potential impacts from Via Del Mar, Almeria, Clifton Park, Crescent, and then that north part of Clifton Park. This is the intersection that we want to neck down and try and, you know, make it more defined and easy for cars to understand, and people, because I, for one, walk there a lot at lunch, and it's like, where do you walk? Where is the car going to go? Or sometimes playing chicken with a car, which is no good. So, so it's a holistic approach at what happens here, like as to, you know, look at traffic calming in this area and try and decide what the solutions could be for the entire area that's outlined in red as a whole. So I think that the intent of this study, whether it be with MJ through, you know, this quote where we're talking about looking at these different intersections and the traffic calming, or whether it be through someone else, like the intent with this is to address all of those issues. And so I just wanted people to be able to see it on the screen. If anybody has any questions on that. Oops, I'll stop sharing.
Laura, real quick, can you speak to why, you know, you think it's good to go with MJ on this, please?
Sure. So my recommendation for MJ, and it's actually written into the quote, and you can see, is that there's a fair amount of surveying and of background work that goes into quotes from engineering that can be, you know, the cost savings that you will get with having an engineering firm that already has all the survey and the background knowledge and doesn't have to reach out is substantial. So MJ can essentially hit this running, pull up the, you know, the designs, and we are going to get way more for our dollar than with any other engineering firm. And I have been a planner for over 10 years, and I definitely do hear fairly regularly fear of the process and frustration with input. But I can say that I don't think that there's a conflict of interest with MJ. I think it's a cost savings, and it's going to be very beneficial for coordinating whatever designs and type of thing that we want to do to be able to coordinate that with the county and be able to fit it into all the plans and be able to have all that data up front. There's no other way that you can get that done. And I think that they are very respectful, and I can bring up the quote again, and understanding of the issues. They have sat through the public hearings and do have that base knowledge to help. And I've been listening, and, you know, I just throw things at the wall with them. I've just a couple of people like, you know, what can we do? And they're like, well, we'll look at it. Like, we can look at it and figure it out. So it's my recommendation to use them. You know, it's still something that is relatively new. The town is trying to move it forward with respect, you know, to everybody that is speaking, so that, you know, we're out in front of the process. You know, we're not talking about construction until next year, so that gives us plenty of time to plan it and figure out what we want to do. But that's just the next step that I have identified.
That makes sense, Laura. And also, I'd want to make sure, we'd all want to make sure that MJ would be open to all the folks' input on Via Del Mar, on Almeria, on Clifton Park, that they'd have that open communication and ability to listen to the neighbors' concerns. Do you see that happening as well, Laura?
Yeah. I mean, I up to you guys. I can share my screen again. They are planning for 2 public meetings. The outline in that proposal is to come up with at least 5 alternative designs for Via Del Mar, and to examine the impacts to Almeria and Clifton Park, and see if there's proposed treatments that should also be applied there. And so they've built into that a fair amount of back and forth with residents, and with the understanding that it's a public process that changes, and that, you know, there's a lot of options that we can look at that could be really, I think, beneficial and protect that neighborhood and safety and continue the safety, which is what we're really talking about. Yeah, that's there.
And that
I have a comment.
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
I was just going to say that quote that Laura is referring to will be available on the town website before 5 p.m. tomorrow, attached to the agenda packet.
Great. Okay, I just want to have a couple more minutes of conversation around this. We don't have Bill or John anymore, so we're really going to have to do all of this again next week. So, Matt Bramble, I think I heard your voice.
Yeah, you know, I just want to express that as far as our neighborhood is concerned, and the way that this barrier was initially drawn onto the plans, and then having it disappear, and then after looking into it, having it clearly you know, it was clearly never looked at deeply. We, as I said before, do not know exactly how that process went down, but speaking on behalf of all of my neighbors, we are incredibly uncomfortable with that part of the process. And I think that's important for the town to consider. Again, we're not objecting overall. We understand the cost savings. We share the concerns. But we would like a second opinion. And also, as far as any traffic studies are concerned, given the pandemic, the people working from home, the traffic patterns are definitely, or the amount of traffic is definitely lower than it typically is. So having backed up traffic on that street is uncommon at this point in time. So I wouldn't, if you're going to do a traffic study, I wouldn't put too much faith in those results, and that maybe using common sense could be a better way of going forward in that sense. But that's the reason why we're objecting to the same engineer on the street. We would feel much more comfortable specifically on Via Del Mar to have a second party look at that.
Thank you, Matt.
Can the traffic study that was done for the proposed townhomes in the CVS lot be used as part of the study?
Attention, everyone. Are you thinking of the one that was potentially done when there was a proposal between CVS and WRGB? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
That traffic study was very preliminary, and I think it was mostly just looking at cars on Balltown Road. And I'm just remembering it. Sorry, flashback. For anybody who says that they think that Balltown Road is at capacity, I mean, the DOT came, or someone from a traffic expert came and said that Balltown Road, DOT considers Balltown Road to be at like 50% capacity or something, for the record, just a flashback. I just wanted to clarify. Yeah, I mean, there is some resources out there, and Schenectady County, like, certainly, I'm sure, would be willing to share the traffic counts that they have with us. I don't know if any of you pay attention, but I mean, we've had the same discussion about traffic studies with the Windsor Drive Kelts Farm, and everybody understands that you can't be doing traffic studies right now. and they have certain other ways that they can take a look. And you know, it's like your phone in your car is tracking you whether you really like it or not, and sends all this data to Google, and they can figure out where cars start and go and how fast they're. Well, I don't think it's speed, but I just wanted to clarify, this proposal though is not a traffic study. It's a proposal for treatments that could be applied to the surrounding areas of you know, of Via Del Mar, Almeria, Clifton Park, and Crescent, you know, based on engineering standards and traffic standards. And I also do want to mention that I think the reason that the engineering for Via Del Mar wasn't a deep dive is because communication, I think, has sometimes not been super clear on this, but the county has always said this is outside of the boundaries of our project. And I think that the timing just wasn't ready, because speaking to how long this project has taken, it wasn't ever really clear when the timeline was going to be. The timeline is now. And I do really feel like it was unfortunate the way that things changed abruptly and, you know, without the notification to residents. But I do think that the attention has been drawn to it now, and the timing is right to get that engineering going now. But it wasn't part of the scope of the county to dive deep into Via Del Mar. So I still would recommend, just because of the thoroughness of the project, and the ability that we would be able to have for dollars spent on what we would get if we use the existing engineer, is not trying to be disrespectful in any way to the residents, but just understanding the process and wanting to maximize the amount of alternatives that we can look at that are going to make the most sense there, with a corridor wide, Clifton Park, Via Del Mar, everybody kind of impact. I do still think that it's important to maximize those dollars and get what we can out of this proposal.
Great. Thank you, Laura. And for everybody who's on here, one more time, the entire town board isn't on here. We are going to discuss all of this at our meeting before we vote on whatever we vote on. So but want to assure everyone, decisions have not been made and there have been no votes yet. I've said this about 5 different people that they would be the last person, but Dave Gallo, are you on the line?
It's Ian Gallo on Dave Gallo.
Ian. Yes, okay.
Hi. He's hiding. He's afraid right now. I guess, first of all, I wanted to thank everybody from the town. I think you guys have been incredibly responsive to all of us in the beginning, the business owners going through this, and the reaching out from everybody in Niskayuna, and also Michelle and Tom, and really, you know, trying to work as best we can to come up with the best solution. And it's just very appreciated, because everyone says, I don't think this would happen in a lot of places, this kind of concern. So it's wonderful to see. I think I might be the only business owner on the call, but I think this area affects all of us. And I did just want to reiterate, I do, with what the concern with what the Via Del Mar residents are saying about the engineering firm, just based on experiences from that we went through and all this planning, and you know, we had wonderful communication from the town and from the county and whatnot, but yet all the stats that everything was based on, we actually never saw any of the actual studies. So I would wonder, does Schenectady County, don't they own those stats since they paid for the original survey, and would it be possible to work with Schenectady County so that we could use those stats already done, as opposed to, you know, I understand what Laura's saying, that it's already been done, so we don't want to repeat the cost, but would it be possible to use the information that that engineering firm did, you know, car counts and everything that they did, so that wouldn't have to be repeated, and we would already have a base of information to work from, and utilizing a second opinion and seeing how perhaps the interaction with a different consulting or engineering firm may work better. And, you know, so there's not also kind of, they obviously have to, their first priority is going to be the plan they made with Schenectady County. And then instead of them trying to please them or please us and who should we please more, then you may have 2 firms working together, one for the town of Niskayuna's interests and the residents, and the other that are working in the interest of the Schenectady County project. So just a thought as to whether we can procure that information from Schenectady County as opposed to, you know, if I don't know the logistics or whether it's owned by the engineering firm, but I would think if Schenectady County paid for it, they would own those statistics. So that was just.
I don't know if hi Ann, hi Dave. I'm not sure if Michelle's still on, but I'd already asked the county legislators about that, about sharing that information. Why redo it, right? So everything they have, they will absolutely share with us. Again, you know, they're being very collaborative. They're in this with us, so they'll be sharing information for sure.
Yeah, because I think the experience with the town and with everyone there was just a little bit different from then that with the, you know, there were quite a few surprises that came from the engineering firm that we didn't expect. And, you know, not at all what happens when we're talking with you guys, and we feel very transparent. So, you know, it might work out to be a better relationship and interaction with a fresh team.
Great. It's a great Ann Gallo, not Dave Gallo. Thank you very much. And truly, you know, epitomizes what makes Niskayuna special, your business and the commitment that you have to our community. So thank you very much.
Sure, thank you for doing it.
All right. Paul Webster, quickly, because I've already said that I said Dave Gallo. Ann Gallo was the last one. So Paul Webster, if you would like to speak for 1 minute. Or not. Otherwise, I am going to entertain a motion to adjourn our special meeting. Anyone? Do I have to even do that? I'm not sure.
Yes, you do.
Okay.
Kevin, Dart, someone?
I will motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Supervisor.
And I'll second it.
Terrific. Thank you very much, everyone. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We will talk again soon. Thank you, everyone, for your patience and your contributions to this. And Laura, thank you very much.
Thank you, Laura.
Thank you, Laura.
Thank you.
Bye. Take care.
Thanks, Laura.
Thank you, Laura, Denise.
Yeah.
Good night.
Our pleasure. Thank you.